Hi, Jeff Ray here from the Chamber, back continuing candidate interviews. I'm sitting down today with County Council candidate Bryan Tanner. Bryan's a candidate in District H. Bryan, welcome.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for presenting this opportunity.
Yeah, always glad to have you. Thank you for your willingness to run for office. Certainly no stranger to folks in St. Joe County or to the Chamber, but we thought a chance to get to know you a little bit better today. You know, for those who haven't had a chance to meet you, Bryan, give us a little bit of a insight, a little history background. Who's Bryan Tanner?
Sure. So I'm the design technology manager at Troyer Group, one of the network management family of businesses in Mishawaka between Pemberton Davis Electric and Direct Line Communications being two of those others. And I've been in this role for some time, but I've worked at other local engineering firms in the past. I've been involved with YPN and chamber activities in the past as well. My foray into local governance started in 2015, running for city council in the city of Mishawaka, and was fortunate enough to serve a term through 2016, from 2016 through 19, and just re-engaging on that level recently, and uh, living with my family, wife, and two kids in Mishawaka near Battelle Park.
Great. Sounds good. Bryan, just maybe for familiarity purposes, can you give us kind of a rough feel for where District H is?
Yeah, it's actually one of the more compact or easy to describe districts. Of course, the redistricting process was somewhat of a contentious one, as we all know. But the way it ended up is Dragoon becomes the south border, McKinley is the north border. More or less, Burkett Street in Mishawaka is the east border. A little bit of that area of Miami Club and Victoria Street, Mishawaka, just east of Burkett, is included in there. And then more or less Ironwood, western boundary, in South Bend, including River Park. It does capture a portion of Potawatomi Park and Potawatomi Zoo, but more or less Ironwood's the western boundary.
Okay, good. So, Bryan, you served before. You were like not in the county, but in Mishawaka City Council, and did a nice job over there. You know, talk for a second about just maybe again what inspired you this time to throw your hat in to sort of seek a different role this time on the county council.
Sure. So I would like to think that my involvement's been somewhat organic. I was originally in a appointment to the Mishawaka Historic Preservation Commission and served in that capacity for 3 or 4 years, and that really gained me an understanding of the historic relevance of a lot of the development patterns over time in our community as a whole. Some collaboration, especially whenever a historic property moved into Mishawaka in the Grandview development, with the St. Joe County Historic Preservation effort as well. A short period of time on the redevelopment commission, and then ultimately on the city council. So my background in that kind of organic growth and my involvement got me a better understanding of the intricacies of local government as a whole. To say I'm a policy wonk might not be completely accurate, but I certainly do find great interest in how those policies impact us and how the intricate taxing relationships between all the taxing agencies plays off of each other. Or somebody implements a TIP district, or a new fee, or a new structure to our infrastructure levy for bridges, for instance, for the county, has an impact on the other taxing bodies. So purely from a historic base point and a intricacy of the tax impacts of all of our local governments, it will always keep me interested in what's happening at our.
Great. Bryan, for somebody who doesn't understand the role of say like a city council or a county council, help them understand sort of what a county councilman does and why that job will be important to them.
Sure, and I think that's an even more intricate question for a district like District H that I'm running for, because it is a county council seat that is entirely encompassed within municipal boundaries. It's not purely in Mishawaka or purely in South Bend, but everybody who lives in this district lives within an incorporated city limit, which has a little bit of a different impact compared to somebody who's in a rural, unincorporated area. But the long and short of it is, a county council member is the legislative representative for the community. And at the county council level, that means that it's a significant fiscal responsibility, a financial and budgeting responsibility, a myriad of executive offices that we have at the county level. One of the significant differences between city council and the responsibilities that I learned there and the county council that will be presented before me is how many executive bodies that you're actually responding and cooperating with. The city council, we have one mayor and all of the various departments that that mayor is responsible for in servicing the community. So you have a lot of different department heads that you report to and understand the budget from, but it's one executive where the buck stops with that person. At the county level, we have an auditor, an assessor, and we have our coroner and sheriff, obviously, and commissioners. So each executive department ultimately has its own intricacies whenever it comes to the budget for the county council. So when it comes to fiscal decisions that the residents and the taxpayers and the voters have to rely on their county council member to properly represent them within all of those bodies, and probably none more important than whenever it comes to public safety.
Great. So Brian, you having served in the on the city council section, maybe a similar setup, if you will, where you've got 9 people representing various parts of the county and various interests. What kind of lessons did you learn as a young councilman that you think will help you on the county council side?
Certainly there's an education that is probably incomparable just in the process. The ways in which, I mean, we all understand how a bill gets made at the federal level, but at the local level, so much of what we do is dictated by state government. And understanding what we can and can't do and working within those limitations is almost as much an art form as it is a science within local government. So I definitely gained that understanding during my time on the city council that will translate to the county council. But it's also the coalition building that's necessary to get anything accomplished. And that's not just between the legislative and the executive branch. It's within the departments. It's gaining and building understanding of how those departments operate so that the policy that you're voting on, the budgets that you're approving, don't have any unintended consequences for any of those operations. And then it's obviously consensus building within the council itself. We have different individuals representing different areas of the county that have a variety of needs that vary from one area to the other. So identifying what does the most good for the most people without those unintended.
Sure. So Brian, as you've been, contemplating running for office and now, out meeting with voters and such, what kind of things are going to be priorities for Brian Tanner should he get elected as a county councilman?
Sure. I don't think this is any mystery that most people in most communities, not just our own, are concerned with public safety. But I want to underscore the fact that not only is that a focus, but it's the breadth of what public safety means. We immediately jump to the conclusion, rightfully so, of policing. And community policing is certainly one of the core concepts of public safety, but it's our judiciary system, it's our corrections system, it's our mental and healthcare system that really mesh into that entire framework of what defines our public safety. So that is a significant focus of mine, that entire ecosystem of public safety and how that operates effectively and in a budget conscious way. Um, Secondary to that, but certainly not really any less important, is our infrastructure, which means a considerably different thing for the folks that live inside of Mishawaka and River Park that are a portion of this district. But nevertheless, those county infrastructure projects are critical. Our bridges over waterways, so the Ironwood, Twickenham, Logan Street, Cedar Street bridges that all cross there are a significant responsibility that is borne upon the county level government, as well as our drainage and ditchways, our legal drain system. It greatly impacts our rural and farmland areas, but it's no less consequential to the residential areas that are developed. So our infrastructure goes beyond roads and includes bridges and includes our drainage system as well. Lastly, and I think the chamber's done a wonderful job of advocating for this, but I hope to do the same on the county council, is bringing in, attracting, and retaining good paying jobs. You cannot have a community if you cannot support that community
Great. No, thank you, Brian. Appreciate that. So my experience, I think all of us with government experience, there's a long to-do list and oftentimes a small checkbook to handle all those things. Speak a little bit to just dealing with the challenges of living within the budget and how you prioritize things to make sure the stuff's getting done that needs to get done.
Yeah, I just look through the lens of what the average working family is presented with on a daily basis. Um, Father, husband, we raised our nephew. We've come over hard times under different portions or seasons of our life and who we were supporting and how we were growing in our profession. And I think back to the struggles that the everyday family, retired, young, middle-aged, whatever the case may be, what challenges they're faced with and what decisions that we can make the biggest positive impact in their life. So yeah, the budget's always going to be constrained, and there will be limitations defined by home rule, state law. But there can be creative ways to work within those constraints, and sometimes those constraints are good because they challenge us to make really sound economic decisions. But really, those three priorities will rehash. It's that public safety, infrastructure, and good paying jobs that really drive living in a thriving community. And as long as we continue to look through the lens of those three core competencies and how the average family is affected, I think we can do some really successful things.
Great. Brian, I'll give you the last seconds here so to give the elevator pitch. If somebody's in District H and trying to decide who to vote for, tell them why they should vote for Bryan Tanner.
Sure. I'd like to think that you would vote for Bryan Tanner because he's really engaged and involved in our community. I'd like to think that whether I'm elected or not, and I certainly hope to be elected and be able to make a larger impact on the community through the nonprofit work that I do with a variety of youth and professional groups, through the effort that I've gone through with years of knocking on doors, engaging with what the community needs are, that I have made a positive impact in the community already, hope to do so in the future, and hope that people see that somebody like myself who's been on that level of engagement over the last 10 plus years, putting somebody like that in office, it can only do great things.
Great. And Brian, if somebody wanted more information, see where would they go?
Sure. You can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/vote for Tanner. That's the number four, or vote for Tanner. Again, the number four, votefortanner.com. I'm reachable via email or social media, and I try to make myself extremely accessible through any of those messaging apps.
Great. Brian, thanks so much for your time today. I appreciate it. It's great to get to know you a little bit better. Thanks for your willingness to run for office. Good luck in November. He's Bryan Tanner. He's a candidate for District H County Council. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate the opportunity again.